Good morning. How y'all doing this morning?
Like you need to corral your stuff.
For those of you that are already logged in, as we wait on the others to join us, what we're going to start out with today is checking our homework. So hopefully you've already gotten it all uploaded, and now we'll go over homework answers. So we will start on, let's see, we had page 4, activities 3. So if you want to go ahead and turn in your book to page 4, activities 3, that's where we're going to be starting. Y'all can go ahead and get settled with that. Waiting on just a few more. Those of you that are just logging in, y'all can go ahead and turn to page 4 in your textbook. That's where we're going to start checking our homework. I think we've got 4 more that we're waiting on. All righty, we'll go ahead and get started. It looks like we should have just a couple more logging in. I think we're missing Evelyn and the King sisters. So it looks like that should be it. So we'll wait for them to all log in. So let's go ahead and turn on, oh, let's see who this is. Somebody in. There's the King sisters. And here comes Evelyn, yay. All right. Okay, so we've got everybody. What we're gonna do is go ahead and let's get cameras on, microphones off. We're gonna start with page 4, check-in homework. So we'll go ahead and get ready for that. And then I will talk through just a couple of things before we get started checking homework. But I did send out an email late last night that has the links for Mondays and Thursdays. So make sure to save that email so you've got a way to just have one email to plug in to save. So you'll know I'm not going to be sending out emails every week with the links. I've sent that one that has Monday and Thursday. So go ahead and keep that. And then also it has a link to my YouTube page. So that way, if you ever have anything that you have to go back to review, or if you're absent, you can just go directly to that YouTube page and the videos will be posted there. Okay, so that way you don't have to wait for me to email it out. Usually what happens is after we finish a class, it takes a little while for Zoom to get the video ready to upload. So usually about 30 minutes after class, it'll tell me that it's ready, and then I have to upload it to YouTube, which takes a little bit of time. But usually around 4 o'clock, I should have everything uploaded from that day. Okay, so if you miss something, or if you are having trouble with something and you need to go back and review. I've had a couple of students that have talked about going back, and then you can just kind of go through and get to where you need to review a certain concept. That is great as well. So, so anyway, that email that I sent last night, if you didn't get it directly, check with your parents. Also, if you're not getting emails directly and you want me to add you to the email list, be sure to send me a message and let me know what email to add for you. If you're wanting an email instead of from directly to your parents. Okay, so that was the things that were covered kind of in that email, was just about uploading a homework, that you only have to upload it to the effort grade assignment, and that I will pull the assignment out of there and then grade it and put the grade in for the accuracy. So you don't have to upload it both places, just upload it to the effort place. I put my YouTube link in there for you to go in. You can subscribe if you want to, or you can just go to it each time. It's up to you, but that will help you to be able to find the class videos if you need them. And then the other thing was that I put in the links for Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, everybody good with that? Any questions about any of that information? All righty, then let's go ahead and start with page 4 in our textbook. Yes.
Do you want us to only do effort, or is it okay if we do both?
Absolutely. If you want to upload it to both, that is just fine with me. I'm only gonna, so it's the kind of thing where if you want to take the time to upload it to both, I know you've got a lot of other stuff going on with other classes. So if you can upload it, fantastic. If not, just at least upload it to the effort site. Okay.
I tried to upload it to the effort site this morning, and
yes.
I kept getting an error message, but
yeah.
It would only upload on the accuracy page.
Okay. So if that ever happens, if you get some kind of error message and it won't let you upload on the effort and you have to upload to accuracy, that is just fine. Okay. I'll just know that, I'll be looking at one or the other. So if you have trouble, just upload it to the other. All right. Anything else before we get started with checking homework? Okay, so ideally, hopefully, everybody's already uploaded all your homework for today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through, and I'm just going to call out the answers for homework. We're going to do a quick little check. So what I need for you to do is to just follow along and check your work, okay? If you need me to repeat an answer, just let me know. What we will do, and I will tell you, oh, Kinsley. Okay, it fell out, I guess, or let's see if she can get back in. So what I'll do is I'll tell you kind of how this book, things are not numbered. So it makes it a little difficult as we're going through answers. So I will tell you, are we going top to bottom? Are we going to be going from side to side? So I will tell you how I'm calling out the answers. I'll call out a row, ask you if you have questions, and then we'll move on to the other. Okay? All righty. So let's go ahead and get our cameras back on. Our chatting has ended and we are ready to go. All right, so on page 4, we had activities 3 is where we're going to be starting. We have 2 columns, so I'm going to go down the left side first and then the right side. So please be sure to follow along. Make sure that I'm in the right spot. Okay, so going down the left-hand side, the first answer is 13. Next is negative 25. Then I have positive 25. Then positive 13. Negative 51. Negative 97. Positive 51. And negative 97. Any questions on that left-hand column?
Could you do it one more time?
Okay, One more time. So starting at the top, I have positive 13, negative 25, positive 25, positive 13, negative 51, negative 97, positive 51, negative 97. Any questions on the left-hand column? Anything that you missed and you're not sure why? Okay, let's go to the right-hand column. Starting at the top, negative 40, positive 40, positive 4, negative 4, negative 80, positive 80, positive 9, negative 9. Any questions in the right-hand column? And this is always the time that if you've missed something and you're not sure why, this is the time to ask questions, and I'm happy to work problems for you and help you through them, okay? So,
I only got 2 on the left-hand column wrong because they were the 97.
Okay. Okay, so the 2 that were negative 97?
Yes.
So, so it's the kind of thing where if you, are there any of these that you guys want me to work? Okay, then we'll move on to page 6, activities 2 and 3. Let me get my books situated. Okay, page 6 is lesson 2. Activities 2 and 3, and we only did the left-hand column. So we'll do activities 2, left-hand column. I'll ask for questions, and then we'll do activities 3, left-hand column, and then I'll ask for questions. I'm gonna go ahead and hook up my iPad real quick just to, so in case we, close everything out. Okay. So, all right, I'll get that going just in case we have any questions that we need to go over, and that way we won't have to take time to get it going. And we'll get my sheet. All righty. I'm gonna expand y'all so I can see everybody at the same time. All right, so left-hand column on page 6. All right, the first one is 1 because 11 to the 0 power, anything to the 0 power is always going to be 1. The next one is 17 because anything to the first power is always itself. The next one we're going to have 8 to the 6th power because we have the same base, so we would just add our exponents, and 2 plus 4 is 6. The next one is going to be 36. You may have written 6 to the 2nd power, but our direction said that if it's under anything to the 3rd power or anything greater than the 3rd power, you did not have to simplify, but since this one was 6 to the 2nd power, again, like bases, subtract the exponents, so 5 minus 3 is 2, so we have 6 to the 2nd power, 6 squared is 36. All right, the next one down, we have 3 times 4 to the 2nd power. So I could either say 3 to the 2nd power times 4 to the 2nd power, or I could go ahead and say 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 to the 2nd power is 144. The next one, I have 3 to the negative third power. So this tells me to make my exponent positive, I have to use the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of the whole number 3 is going to be 1/3. And then that exponent, because it's outside parentheses, is going to go to the numerator and the denominator. Well, 1 to the third power is just still going to be 1, because 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And then 3 to the third power is going to be 27. So your answer should be 1/27. The next one, 1 to the fourth to the second power. I distribute that exponent, since it's outside parentheses, to both the numerator and the denominator. So I would have 1 to the second power over 4 to the second power, which would simplify to 1/16. And then the last one in that column, I have 2/5 to the negative second power. Again, I have a negative exponent, so I have to flip it. I have to take the reciprocal, which is going to be 5/2. Now that 2 is still outside parentheses, so the 5 is distributed to the numerator. I'm sorry, that 2 is distributed to the numerator of 5 and to the denominator of 2. So I would have 5 squared over 2 squared. 5 squared is 25, 2 squared is 4, so your answer would be 25/4. You would not have to make that a mixed number. You could leave it as an improper fraction. So any questions on activities 2? Awesome. All right.
Yeah,
And
on
don't
the
be afraid.
last one, I just left it as an improper fraction.
Okay, yeah, so you just leave it as 25/4. And also, one of the things I was going to tell you, I understand that sometimes people may be a little more confused, or may be worried about speaking up during a Zoom class and asking a question, whatever. If you don't want to speak up during class and you just want to hang around, like when it's our break time and you want to ask me a question then, or at the end of class, if you want to hang around and as people are logging off, if you want to wait till the end of class to ask me any questions, please just don't ever leave class not understanding something. Please be sure to let me know if you need help. Okay. All right, activities 3, we are solving using our rules for signed numbers. So left-hand column, activities 3, the top one is positive 639. Below that, I have negative 639. Below that, negative 639. Then under that, positive 639. So I'll repeat those real quick. The first one and the fourth one are positive 639. The middle, the second and third, will be negative 639. So I have 639, negative 639, negative 639, positive 639. All right, then below that, I have negative 14, then I have positive 14, then I have negative 44, and positive 30. Any questions on activities 3?
Can you go over the 14 and 44 ones again?
Just the answers?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one kind of halfway down where it's negative 29 minus a negative 15, that's going to be negative 14. Then positive 29 minus a positive 15 is a positive 14. Negative 29 minus a positive 15 is negative 44. And then 14 plus a negative 13 plus 17 minus a negative 12 is a positive 30. Any questions? Any of those you would like me to work?
I got, on the last one, I got 20. Could you work that one, please?
Absolutely, yeah. So let's see. On that one, we have 14 plus negative 13 plus 17 minus a negative 12. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, since I'm just adding and subtracting, I'm going to move from left to right. So the first thing I'm going to do is positive 14 plus a negative 13. Okay, so a positive 14 plus a negative 13 is going to give me a positive 1. So 1 plus 17 minus a negative 12. Okay, so now I'm going to go and have 1 plus 17. 1 plus 17 is 18 minus a negative 12. Okay, remember we talked about how if I'm subtracting, I'm going to change my signs. So here, if I've got minus a negative, I'm going to change this to plus a positive. And so then I have 18 plus 12 is going to give me 30. Okay, so especially these problems that have multiple steps, do it a step at a time. The more we try to do in our head, the more likely we are to make a mistake. So do it a step at a time. Any other questions on any of these? Okay, so now let's go ahead. That was page 6, activities 2 and 3. Let's turn to page 8. Page 8 was dealing with our order of operations. Oh, nope, never mind. Page 8, we were practicing more with our sign numbers, activities 3. And we did all of these, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say 3. Alrighty, we will go down the left-hand column. I'll ask for questions, then we'll do the right-hand column. All right, so left-hand column on page 8. The first one is positive 130. Then I have negative 16. Then positive 16. Then negative 130. Underneath that one would be negative 155. Then negative 155. Positive 155. And then positive 155. Questions on any of those? All right, right-hand column, multiplying. Remember that if I have an odd number of negatives, my solution will be negative. If I have an even number of negatives, my solution will be positive. So going down the right-hand column, my first one is negative 42. Then I have negative 56, negative 63, negative 112, positive 108, negative 120, positive 88, and negative 108. Any questions on those?
Can you repeat the first row?
The first
left-hand side?
The left-hand side where I'm adding and subtracting? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I didn't get all of them.
Okay, so left-hand side, positive 130, negative 16, positive 16, negative 130, negative 155, negative 155, positive 155, positive 155.
All right, I got them.
Okay, so those of you that haven't had me before, what I always encourage my students to do is after when we've gone through and checked homework, if you have missed something, I recommend you go back and correct it. That's where how you learn is by looking, bless you, Kinsley, is you look at your mistakes and then you work back through them so you can see why did you make that mistake. It doesn't do any good to miss something and then not look back to see why, because then when it's test time, if you haven't made the corrections and you haven't worked through them, then you may make the same mistakes, okay? So take time to go back and make your corrections. Kind of, y'all are getting to the point where you're starting to get higher into your education to where you have to take more and more responsibility on your own, because it's going to be important for you to kind of learn what you need to do to help you to be a successful student, okay? All righty, so that was page 8, and then our last was page 10, activities 3. Page 10, activities 3 was dealing with prime factorization. We talked about how prime numbers are numbers that are, the only factors are 1 in itself, and then composite numbers are numbers that have more than the factors 1 in itself. And so, but we talked about how when we do prime factorization, we always want to break it down into only prime numbers that multiply together to make that number. And if we have multiple prime, or if we have the same prime factors within a problem, we use exponents to express those. Okay, so we're on page 10, activities 3, prime factorization. So for 12, you should have had 2 squared times 3. 2 squared times 3. Below that, the number 21, your prime factorization would just be 3 times 7. 14, prime factorization for 14 is 2 times 7. Prime factorization of 22 is going to be 2 times 11. Prime factorization of 15 will be 3 times 5. Prime factorization of 24 will be 2 cubed, or 2 to the third power, 2 cubed times 3. Prime factorization for 20 will be 2 squared times 5. And prime factorization for 25 will be 5 squared. Any questions on any of those?
Can you go back and repeat 20?
The one for 20 is 2 squared times 5.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Any others? Anything that you missed and you're not sure why and you would like help with it? All right. So that moves us along to lesson 5. So go ahead and turn to page 11 in your textbook, lesson 5. And we are going to be talking about absolute value. More than likely, this is going to be a bit of a review. All right, so let me find, we are algebra text pages. Absolute value. So it says the absolute value of a number is the number's distance from 0 on a number line. Okay, so one of the things I want you to do is right by that activities part, let's go ahead and draw a number line. So we know with our number line we have 0, and then to the right are our positives numbers. To the left are going to be our negatives. Okay, so when we think about a number line and we apply that to absolute value, it's talking about the distance from 0. So if we, in the example that they've given us, they have said if I am looking at the absolute value of 5, if I look at the absolute value of 5, I'm looking at 5 on the number line, and I can see that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places from 0 on the number line. But likewise, if I look at -5 on my number line, it is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places from 0. So distance can never be negative. And when we're talking about absolute value, we are talking about distance, the distance of a number from 0 on the number line. So that means that anytime I have got, let me erase some of this for a second. I need my daughter to teach me how to move things on here, but anyway, we'll just do this. All right, so anytime we are dealing with absolute value, you're going to see these 2 lines, okay? You're going to see a number, and it looks like if they were, it looks like flat parentheses, okay? So we know parentheses are curved. These are just 2 straight lines with a number in between. And whether it's a positive number or a negative number inside those lines, my answer is going to be positive. Now the difference comes in, let's go ahead and let's take a look down here on the left-hand column at negative, okay, I have a negative outside the absolute value sign, okay? So again, if you're taking notes and you've got a sheet of paper, obviously the place to write this is not going to be on this paper, but this would be the place where you would put it. If negative is in front of absolute value symbol, it is read the opposite of. Okay, so if my negative sign is in front, like this one, I would read it as the opposite of the absolute value of 11. So what I have to do first is say, what is the absolute value of 11? And the absolute value of 11 is 11. And then I have to say, okay, what is the opposite of 11? The opposite of 11 would be negative 11. So if the negative sign is in front of the absolute value symbol, I will have a negative answer. If the negative is only inside, I'll have a positive answer. Does that make sense? Did everybody follow that? So if it's on the outside, I read that as the opposite of the absolute value of whatever's inside that absolute value symbol. Okay, so let's practice with these for a minute. I'm going to erase all this. All righty, so let's practice with these. And the first one, I have the absolute value of 3. So the absolute value of 3 is 3. The absolute value of 49 will be 49. Now the next one underneath that, I have the absolute value of negative 25. So again, I would picture negative 25 on my number line. How many places from 0 is it? It is 25 places from 0. So even though I have a negative, it's inside my absolute value symbol. So my solution is going to be positive because it is 25 places from 0. So the next one, the absolute value of negative 79 is 79. Any questions so far? Now let's look at the next one. I have the opposite of the absolute value of 11. So the first thing I have to say is, what is the absolute value of 11? And that's 11. What is the opposite of 11? Negative 11. And the next one, the opposite of the absolute value of negative 82. So first I have to say, and actually it may help, I don't know if it helps to go ahead and if I bring down my 11 here and then I put the negative. Same thing with negative 82. The absolute value of negative 82 is going to be 82. And now it's the opposite of 82. So that's negative 82. The next one, the absolute value of 16 is 16. The opposite of 16 is negative 16. The opposite of the absolute value of negative 43. The absolute value of negative 43 is 43. The opposite of 43 is negative 43. And then also down here at the bottom, I can use absolute value as a symbol of grouping. Okay, so think back when we did order of operations. Typically that P, we say P is for parentheses at the beginning of PEMDAS. But actually that first step is any symbol of grouping. It could be parentheses, it could be brackets, it could be braces, it could be an absolute value symbol. Okay, so the P actually stands for any symbol of grouping. All right, but in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and add. So I would have the absolute value of 19 plus 3 is 22. So the absolute value of 22 is 22. Any questions on that left-hand column? Anything that you're just not quite sure about? All righty, let's go ahead and look at the right-hand column. Middle column, my bad. Okay, so the middle column, here I have the opposite of the absolute value of 22 plus 11. So again, if I look at 22 plus 11, I'm going to have the absolute value of 33. So I've got the opposite of the absolute value of 33. The absolute value of 33 is 33, so the opposite of 33 is negative 33. Because that negative is outside the absolute value symbol, my solution will be negative. The next one, I have the absolute value of 15 plus 18. So that means I'm going to have the absolute value, 15 plus 18 is going to be 33. So again, the absolute value of 33 will be 33. Chad? Chad, your name is on here as Chad. Richard?
Can you do the first one of the middle column again one more time?
The opposite of 22 plus 11, that one?
Yes.
Okay, so on that one, let me erase real quick. So on that one, I have got the opposite of the absolute value. So 22 plus 11 is going to be 33. Okay, so again, my negative sign is outside, so it's telling me I need to take the opposite of the absolute value of 33. Well, the absolute value of 33 is going to be 33, so the opposite of 33 will be negative 33. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for stopping me. Okay, so the next one, I would just add 15 plus 18 inside my absolute value symbols, and the absolute value of 33 is positive 33. The next one, I'm going to subtract 5 minus 4. So I have inside my absolute value is going to be 1, and the absolute value of 1 is 1. On the next one, I have the opposite of the absolute value of 17 minus 20. All right, 17 minus 20. I am taking away a number that is larger than the beginning number. So I know that this, I'm going to end up with negative 3 inside my absolute value symbol. But remember, we're taking the opposite of. So here, the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. But now I'm taking the opposite of 3, so I have negative 3. Any questions on that one? When we did our computation and we have 17 minus 20, I end up with negative 3 inside those absolute value signs. But because I have that negative sign in front of it, I have to take the opposite of the absolute value, and that is why it is negative. All right, the next one, I have the opposite of the absolute value of 2 plus 17. So 2 plus 17 is going to give me 19. So then I take the opposite of the absolute value of 19, will be negative 19. All right, the next one. I have got the opposite of the absolute value of 33 minus 35. 33 minus 35. So within my absolute value, 33 minus 35 is going to give me a negative 2. Because I have my negative outside, I'm taking the opposite of negative 2. The absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2. The opposite of 2 is negative 2. All right, now we have 2 separate absolute value symbols, okay? So now we are going to have to do separate things here. So I just take the absolute value of 16 is 16, plus the absolute value of 4 is 4, and 16 plus 4 is 20. The next one, the absolute value of 9 will be 9, plus the absolute value of negative 15 is going to be a positive 15, and 9 plus 15 is 24. The absolute value of negative 27. Negative 27 will be 27 places from 0, plus the absolute value of negative 3. Negative 3 is 3 places from 0 on my number line. So 27 plus 3 is 30. Questions on that middle row? Any trouble with that?
No.
Okay. So for homework, I want you to do the right-hand column of activities 2. Let me go ahead and write that down. So if you have a place, if you have a sheet of paper, if you printed out that assignment sheet that I sent you, or if you just have a notebook that you're keeping assignments in, go ahead and as we go, write down your homework assignments. At the end of class, we'll go over them to make sure everybody has them, but make sure you're writing them down. So Algebra 1 today is August 17th. So we have Lesson 5, Activities 2, right column on page 11. So Activities 2, right column, page 11. Alrighty, and what we'll do, just to give us a little more practice with our positives and negatives, let's go ahead and do the left-hand column of Activities 3 also for homework. So we'll do this left-hand column. So Activities 2, right-hand column, Activities 3, left column. And then let's go ahead and turn over to page 12. We're going to do Activities 4, prime factorization. And then Activities 5, there are 13 problems. Let's do the bottom 6, okay? So this is going to be, so we said Activities 4, and then Activities 5, we're going to count up from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll do the bottom 6. So it starts with that 7 minus 3 to the second power. I know it seems like we are really kind of sticking with a lot of review, doing the same thing that y'all just did for homework. But these are skills, these are foundational skills that I want to make sure that we have mastered before we move on, because as we start going, if you're struggling with these things, then it's going to be harder when we start applying it to more advanced skills. Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody's very comfortable with this. Again, it's the kind of thing that if you are struggling with something, please do not hesitate to let me know you need help. Okay?
Are these going to be for homework?
Yes, this is homework. So we've just said Activities 2 on page 11, right column. Activities 3, page 11, left column. Activities 4 on page 12. And Activities 5, the bottom 6 problems.
Okay, I just need to write it down.
Yes. Yeah, and like I said, we'll go through this at the end, but if you're writing it down as we go, that's where we are so far. All right, now lesson 6, we are moving on to greatest common factor. Okay, so we worked on factoring. We looked at prime factorization. We worked with that, and we found that when I am breaking a number into prime factors, I'm just looking to see what are the smallest prime factors that multiply together to make up a number. Now what we're doing is we are actually going to be breaking a number into prime factors, but then comparing it to another number that is broken down into prime factors, okay? So here, the greatest common factor of 2 or more numbers, okay? So this is where we're comparing at least 2, if not more numbers. It's the largest factor that is common to all the given numbers. So we're looking at the largest factor in common between 2 or more numbers. So it says to find the greatest common factor, begin by finding the prime factorization of each number. So I want to make sure that we know that that is what we do. To find the greatest common factor, begin by finding the prime factorization of each number. So here it says, if I have the numbers 12 and 18, I can see that 12 is broken down into 2 times 2 times 3. I can see that 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. And then it says, then circle all prime factors that are common to both numbers. One of the things I like to do, instead of circling them individually, it helps me to see them if I circle them together. So I can see that I have 2's in common and I have 3's in common. Okay? So to me, I can see it better if I stack them on top, just like they did with 12 and 18, but then I go ahead and circle both of them together. If there is nothing that matches up, you just leave it alone. But here, this means that I've been able to pull out a 2 and a 3, okay? And so it's gonna be 2 times 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. So the greatest common factor of 12 and 18 is 6. Prime factors, circle buddies, multiply the buddies, and that's your greatest common factor. Any questions on that so far? Okay, that's greatest common factor. Now we're looking at least common multiple. Okay, least common multiple of 2 or more numbers is going to be the smallest number that is a multiple of all the given numbers. So on this one again, it says to find the least common multiple, begin by finding the prime factorization of each number. So once I found prime factorization for greatest common factor, I can use that same prime factorization for least common multiple. Now this one's a little more challenging, okay? So let's listen to what we've got to do for this one. All right, so it says to find the least common multiple of 12 and 18, you find the prime factorization, but notice here it says express it using exponents, okay? So what they did here is they took 2 times 2 times 3 and expressed it as 2 squared times 3. Then for 18, they have 2 times 3 times 3 and expressed it as 2 times 3 squared. Now what we've got to do is it says we want to draw a box around the value with the largest exponent. So when I look at 12 and 18, I have 2 squared, but then I also have 2. I want to take the one with the largest exponent, so that's why they put the box around 2 squared. So now I'm going to pull out 2 squared. I have a 3 in 12, but 3 squared in 18. 3 squared is larger than 3, so now I'm going to pull out 3 squared. Again, I'm multiplying them together. So 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, and 4 times 9 is 36. So the least common multiple of 12 and 18 is 36. That's what we do when we're using the prime factorization. It says you can also list multiples of each number. So if you wanted to just list multiples of 12, 12 times 1 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24, 12 times 3 is 36, 18 times 1 is 18, and 18 times 2 is 36. So then you would find your least common multiple that way. You can do either way to find least common multiple. The main thing to remember though, greatest common factor is going to be smaller than the numbers you're looking at. Least common multiple will be greater than the numbers you're looking at. So let's make a note of that. Let's see, we'll put it in a different color so it stands out. GCF will be less than, let's do less than or equal to the numbers. And then down here, LCM will be greater than or equal to the numbers. Okay, It could be equal to, but I know that the greatest common factor is going to be less than or equal to one of the two numbers, and least common multiple will be greater than or equal to, okay? So I know I'm looking for a smaller number when I'm doing greatest common factor because it's factors. Multiples means that they're being multiplied together, so they're going to be bigger numbers. Any questions on those? All right, let's practice with it. The first one on classwork 1 says to find the greatest common factor of each set of numbers. So remember, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do prime factorization of 9 and 15. So this is where I think about, okay, my smallest prime factor of 9, I know it's not even, so it can't be 2, so it's going to be 3, and it will be 3 times 3. 15, it's not even, so I know that 2 is not my smallest prime factor, so I'm going to try 3, and I've got 3 times 5. Okay, so once I have my prime factorization, my second step is to look for buddies. What do they have in common? So here, the only thing that 9 and 15 have in common is a 3. So the greatest common factor equals 3. Any questions on how we did that? Let's look at the next one. I have got 15. Okay, we already did prime factorization for 15 in the problem before, so I know that that's going to be 3 times 5. Then with 24, smallest prime factor of 24. 24 is even, so I know the smallest prime factor is going to be 2, and that's going to be 2 times 12. Now I've got to break down 12 into prime factors. Smallest prime factor of 12, it is even, so it's also going to be 2, and it's going to be 2 times 6. Now I've got to break down 6 into prime factors. 6 is even, so my smallest prime factor will also be 2, and that will be 2 times 3. I can always check to make sure. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24. So I can always check once I've done my prime factorization to make sure that my answers work. Now I'm looking for buddies, okay? On this one, they're not lined up real easy for me to circle both of them, but I'm gonna do my best. And so I can see that I've got 3's in common. So my greatest common factor is 3. Now we're looking at 6, 9, and 15. So I've already found prime factorization of 9 and 15. Now I've got to break down 6. We know that 6, smallest prime factor, is going to be 2. It'll be 2 times 3. Actually, I'm going to move this a little bit and give myself some more room. So we said, oops, I erased my 3. Okay, so I've got 6, which will be 2 times 3. We already did the prime factorization of 9, which is 3 times 3, and we already did prime factorization of 15, which is 3 times 5. So now, because we are finding the prime factorization of 3 numbers, my number has to be in all 3 of them. So in this one, I don't have a 2 in all of them. I do have a 3. So I'm going to circle 1, 3 for each number. There's a 3, and 3 is a factor of 6, 3 is a factor of 9, and 3 is a factor of 15. There is nothing else that I can buddy up. So my greatest common factor equals 3. Oh, did we miss the break? I'm sorry. We were supposed to take a break at 11:10. Y'all can help me remember that. I'm sorry. I'm just having so much fun doing prime factorization. All right, so y'all go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and practice with least common multiple. Y'all know who I go for. Yeah. It's Auburn. Bless their heart. We were watching ball games, old ball games this weekend, and my kids were laughing. They were like, "You mean Auburn used to be good?" We showed them. They were, I guess, ESPN's been playing old games, and there was, I think one of the games we were watching, there was a preview or something. They said something about Alabama was ranked 22, and they were like, 22. And my husband said, yeah, Alabama wasn't always number one. And at that time, I think Tennessee was number one.
They used to play fair.
Well, they couldn't believe that Tennessee was ever number one. And so he said, yeah, it changes.
I don't think anyone can believe that.
All righty. So let's get back. All the chatting stop. And we'll start working on our least common multiples. Okay, so quick review, greatest common factor, we do our prime factorization, we find buddies that are in common for each number, and if there's more than one number, we would multiply them together to find our greatest common factor. Now, least common multiple, again, we're going to start out using our prime factorization. So here I have 3. All right, so my smallest prime factor of 3 is 3. All right, and my smallest prime factor of 5 is 5. So remember, in this situation, we're looking for as many different factors that are represented. Okay, so earlier they had to be what was in common.
What about 1?
Now, I'm sorry?
What about 1?
Well, anything times 1 is 1, and remember, 1 is not prime or composite, so we're not going to worry about 1. We always just want our smallest prime factor is going to be 2, so we're going to always work with 2 and above. So in this situation, we have to look to see every single factor represented between the 2. So here we would have 3. Actually, let me, instead of doing equals, I've got a 3 here, so I'm going to put a box around 3, and then I have a box around 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. Now again, if we wanted to do it the different way and say 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15, 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 7 is 21, and I could keep on going. And I could do 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15. Well, I could stop there because now I've seen a repeating number. So that means my least common multiple is 15. So I can either do it by breaking everything down into prime factors and then putting a box around each factor that is represented. But remember, if it's represented like down here in this, whoop, go back. Down here, I have 2's in both of these and 3's in both of them, but I take the one with the higher exponent. Even if there wasn't a 2 in 18, I would still represent each factor to its highest exponent, okay? With greatest common factor, they have to be in common. The difference with common factor and common multiple is my factors don't have to be the same. Okay, my multiples do in this situation. So now let's look at 8 and 12. Okay, so I'm going to break down 8. Smallest prime factor of 8 will be 2, and that'll be 2 times 4. Smallest prime factor of 4 will be 2, and that's 2 times 2. So remember, in this situation, now I want to represent them to the highest exponent. So 2 times 2 times 2, I would represent as 2 cubed. Then my number 12, that will be 2 times 6, and then 6 will be 2 times 3. Again, I'm going to represent what I can. So I have 2 squared times 3. Let me fix that a little. Is everybody with me so far? I've done prime factorization. I've represented them with exponents where I can. Now remember, now I've got to look and I've got to see, I've got to represent every factor listed to the highest exponent. So here I have 2 cubed is larger than 2 squared. So 2 cubed will be one of my factors. I've got a 3 down here. So I'm going to multiply by 3. Now I've got to simplify. 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 3 is 24. So my least common multiple is 24. Again, if I wanted to do 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32. Then I could do 12 times 1 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24, and I see that 24 is my common multiple. Finally, 6, 8, and 9. 6 is 2 times 3. 8 we've already done, which is 2 cubed. 9 is going to be 3 squared. All right, so I have factors of 2 and 3. So I've got to find my largest exponent of each. My largest exponent of 2 will be 2 cubed. My largest exponent of 3 will be 3 squared. 2 cubed is 8, 3 squared is 9, and 8 times 9 is 72. So my least common multiple of these 3 numbers is 72. So I'd be doing 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, 6 times 4, 6 times 5. I'd have to keep on going until I get to a number that is a multiple of both 8 and 9 also. Okay, so least common multiple would be 72. Any questions on these? To me, the key is making sure you're always starting out with those common factors and then thinking about what you do with greatest common factor, what you do with least common multiple. So let's go ahead and let's take some time. I want you to go ahead and do the first column in activities 2 and the first column in activities 3. Go ahead and work on that right now. First column activities 2, first column activities 3. If you get stuck and you have questions, let me know. Sound good? Anybody need a little more time? Okay, that's fine. Don't want to rush you.
The last one on activities 3, I can't figure out.
Okay, so so think about, look at your prime factors of 3, prime factors of 4, prime factor of 5. And the main thing to remember is that we have to represent every single factor listed in each row to the highest exponent. Okay, so put a box around each factor. It has to be represented at least once to the highest exponent. And we'll go over it in just a minute. I don't know if that'll help you or not, but then once you've identified each factor, then you're going to multiply those together. If you can't figure it out by using prime factors, see if you can figure it out by doing multiples. 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, so on. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3. I'm sorry, that's 3, 4, and 5. Multiples of 3, multiples of 4, multiples of 5, and see where you overlap.
But I multiplied the factors, but it was 30, but then 4 doesn't become 3.
Yep. So that's not going to be 1. It won't be that. You'll have to, if you haven't encountered anything similar yet, you'll just have to keep going. But we'll work through it. You good, Zoe? Zoe Owens?
I figured out the answer to the problem.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at our greatest common factor at the top in activities 2. All right, so what did you find your factors of 9 are?
1, 3, and 9.
1, 3, and 9. Those are our, but when we're doing our prime factorization, then all we can list are prime factors. And since 9 is not a prime factor, we know that we're going to have 3 times 3, right? So my prime factors of 9 will be 3 times 3. What is my prime factors of 12? 12 is going to be 2 times 3. Remember that when I'm listing out factors, I can only have prime factors listed out. Okay, so now we're going to look at what I have in common. So I have, the only thing I have in common is a 3. So my greatest common factor is 3. Any questions on that one? All right, let's look at 16 and 18. Listing out
So
prime.
don't multiply for those?
No, remember those are in common. Remember, greatest common factor, when if I circled 2s or 2s or 5s or something like that, then I would multiply my different factors together. But in this one, because 9 is not a factor of 12. So if I multiply 3 times 3, that's 9. 9 is not a factor of 12. Okay, so whatever we've buddied up together, if I have more than one pair of buddies, then I would multiply those together. So let's look at 16. Smallest prime factor is going to be 2, and that's going to be 2 times 8. Smallest prime factor of 8 will be 2, and that'll be 2 times 4. Smallest prime factor of 4 is 2, and that's 2 times 2. So again, I can always check it by saying 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. Now let's look at 18. Smallest prime factor is going to be 2, and it's going to be 2 times 9. Smallest prime factor of 9 will be 3, and that's 3 times 3. All right, again, I've got to look at what I can buddy up. And the only thing I have in common is 2s. So my greatest common factor is 2. Any questions on that? All right, now let's look at 12, 15, and 18. 12, prime factors. 2 times 6. 6 is going to be 2 times 3. 15, smallest prime factor is 3, and that'll be 3 times 5. Smallest prime factor of 18 is 2 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3. So now we're having to look at what is in common for all three of these. What do I have in common for all three of them? I've got a 3, a 3, and a 3. So my greatest common factor is 3. Is everybody good with that so far with greatest common factor? All right, now let's move on to least common multiple. 6 prime factors. 6 is going to be 2 times 3. 9 is going to be 3 times 3, which is going to be 3 squared, okay? So we'll just leave this as 2 times 3. Now, what I've got to do here is I have got to represent each factor. I have a 2. That is my largest exponent of 2 that I have in all of my list. So I know I'm going to have a 2 that I can multiply. Now I have a 3 that is a factor of 6, but 9 is 3 squared. 3 squared is larger, so now I've got 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so 2 times 9 is 18. So my least common multiple equals 18. Questions about that?
Could you maybe kind of explain that again? It was kind of confusing.
Sure. So in this situation, we found our factors of 6. Prime factors of 6 are 2 times 3. Okay? Prime factors of 9 are 3 times 3. Remember, when we're dealing with least common multiple, we want to represent any repeating factors as exponents. When I go to put my boxes around numbers, I have to make sure to put a box around every single factor represented or every single different number that I have. So in this situation, I only had 1 2. I didn't have a 2 as a factor of 9, but that's okay. I still have to represent that 2. Here, I have a 3, but I've got 3 squared here. So I put a box around the larger exponent. This is the same as 3 to the first, right? So my exponent of that one is 1. My exponent of this one is 2. So he is larger. So that's why I put a box around that 3 instead of the other one. So now, since I've pulled my 2 out here, and then my 3 squared is there, and then I calculate. 3 squared is 9, and then I have to multiply that by 2, and that gives me 18. Okay? There's a lot more involved to this. Now, again, if this is too confusing, if doing the prime factors and boxing and all that is confusing, I'm going to come down here, and if I were to find multiples of 6, if I wanted to look at it as multiples, then 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. And I could keep on going, and I will if I have to. But then my other one is 9. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. But wait, I can stop there because I can see that I've got 18 in common. So then that way I would know my least common multiple equals 18. I can either do it by using this prime factor method, or I can list multiples of each factor and then look to see what's in common. So there's 2 ways that I could potentially do this. Okay. Let's look at 9 and 15. We've already found our factors of 9 are 3 times 3, which we could simplify to 3 squared. And then 15 will be 3 times 5. There's nothing I can simplify there, so I'm just going to rewrite them. What are our different factors that we have represented here? I have 3s and a 5. So I have to make sure that I represent both of them. My larger exponent of 3 is going to be 3 squared. My largest exponent of 5 is 5, so I'm going to have 3 squared times 5. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. So my least common multiple is 45. Again, if I wanted to do it as multiples, I could have multiples of 9 and 15. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54, and I could keep on going. 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 3 is 45. I can stop there because now I have seen I've got a 45 in that list and a 45 in that list. So my least common multiple is 45. I can do it either way. I'm still going to get the same answer. Okay. Now let's look at 3, 4, and 5. All right. 3, prime factor, 3. 4 will be 2 times 2, which I can represent as 2 squared. And then my prime factor of 5 is just 5. So again, I have to make sure to represent each number. I only have a 3. I've got 2 squared, and I have 5. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 squared times 5. 2 squared is 4, so 3 times 4 times 5. 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60. Now I could list those as factors again and have 3, but I'm going to have to go all the way up till I get to, you can see where I would have to get to 60. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, and I'd have to keep on multiplying until I found the common factors for 3, 4, and 5. That is why listing out multiples is going to take a lot longer, especially when you're dealing with more than 2 numbers, than if you're using the factorization up top. Questions? Is everybody good, or do you still have questions? Okay, so what we will do is practice for this. Our homework will be activities 3 on page 14. Oh, and 2 and 3. Okay, use the examples as our guides. Let me go ahead and write this down. So this is lesson 6. We are doing page 14. Finish activities 2 and activities 3. Let's see, time-wise, it is 11:48. Hold on just a minute. I want to look at something. How can I? Let's see, I want to go ahead and if you have your Algebra 1 lesson sheet with you, if you have printed it out, let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick.
I have it. It's just not with me at the moment.
Okay, so what I may do, let's see if I can do this. Let's see, let me. Okay, so real quick, I'll just tell you, in looking at it, oh, come on, okay. Okay, so in looking at it, I have it broken down to where lessons 1 through 6 are going to be our first unit for a test, okay? So 1 through 6 is going to be what our first test will be on. So let's talk about that for a minute and what that's going to look like. Okay, so what we will do, let me go back to full screen. All right, so what that means is what I want to do is go ahead and stop here for today and use the rest of our time for work time, okay, for you to start working on homework. On Thursday, we will do a chapter review. We'll be reviewing each of the skills, and I will be emailing you a practice packet to prepare you for the test, okay? So I will have that emailed to you Wednesday. If you get a chance to print it out for Thursday's class, that would be perfect. That would be the ideal situation. If you don't have it printed by Thursday, that'll be okay, but that will be your test review, okay? So that's going to help to prepare you for the test. So on Thursday, we're going to do test review. We're going to move on to our next sections that we're working on. And then, but I'm going to give you time to review, and then your test will actually be next Monday. Okay? So next Monday, I will email you the test, or I'm trying to figure out, I may post it. I've been toying with between Google Classroom and the website. I may just post it in both places, and then you can go to wherever you're most comfortable pulling from. There's a resources document or a resources section in our homeschool site where I can upload things, and it may be that I just upload it there and that's where you can pull it from, but we'll work through that. I'll figure out what's going to be the easiest thing for you. So that's kind of our plan for the next little while, is on Thursday, we will do a chapter review. I will give you some practice problems to review for the test. We'll go ahead and move on to our new content, and then next Monday, I will send you the test. Is that good? Everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, so for right now, it is 11:53. Okay, so we've got, what's that, about 12 minutes before class is over. We got about 12 minutes that you can sit and work. So that way, if you have questions, be sure to let me know, and I'll be happy to go through these with you, okay? So let's talk about what our homework is. Overall homework. Find a place to write this down. Okay, I will not be emailing it out. It's your responsibility to write it down right now. So make sure you write it down.
So is the test due on Monday?
No, I will send it to you Monday, and it won't be due till the next Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll review Thursday. I'll give you the test on Monday. You'll turn it in on Thursday. Okay. All right, so homework. Flip through your book, mark your pages, write it down wherever you're going to write it. Let's make sure we've got it. So first part of homework is lesson 5, activities 2, the right-hand column, and that's on page 11. So that right-hand column, we did the first and the middle column, so you need to do the right-hand column. Activities 3, left-hand column. And actually, I can scroll back through my pages real quick. Might be easier for you to see it. Okay. So as you can see, this is lesson 5, page 11. Right-hand column of activities 2, left-hand column of activities 3. And then on page 12, we're doing activities 4. And then activities 5, the bottom 6 problems. Just those 6. Then we already did page 13. So page 14, you will finish activities 2 and 3. Any questions about what your homework is and when it is due? All righty, so we've got about 10 minutes. You can go ahead and start working on this. So that way, if you encounter a problem, you can let me know.
When is the homework due?
So this homework will be due. It needs to be uploaded by our class time on Thursday. So what you get assigned on Monday is due by class time on Thursday. What your homework is on Thursday is due by class time on Monday. Okay? So if you have questions as you're working, let me know.
So on activities 3 on lesson 5, do we have to do both of the columns?
No, just the left-hand column. We got about 3 more minutes. All righty, it is 12:05, so you can go ahead and take a break, go get you some lunch before, if you have any other classes this afternoon. Please, if you have questions and you want to hang around for a minute as we start logging off, please stay around and ask questions if you need to. If you don't need to, then you know what your homework is. You know that it is due before class on Thursday. And if y'all need something, let me know. But if not, I will see you guys on Thursday. Okay? Good job. Bye, everybody. Yeah, Mark.
So, I was wondering if I can like submit my homework as another file instead of a PDF.
I think the only way that the system takes it is a PDF.
Okay.
So that's why I was saying I didn't know if you didn't have an easy way to convert things to PDF. That's why I recommend that app, that Tiny Scanner app, because then all you have to do is take pictures of it and it turns it into a PDF.
Well, I can convert it to a PDF. It just takes a little while.
Yeah. So like I said, if you want to, there may be a faster way that you can find something that'll be easier, but the system only takes it as a PDF. So that's what we've got to go with.
Okay, well, I finished everything except for page 14.
Fantastic.
So that's everything. All right,
That's
bye, Miss
great.
Jennifer.
All right, bye, hon. See you Thursday. Evelyn, you got a question?
Let me see. So I did not know. I guess I don't know if I wasn't listening last week or I don't know. But I didn't know page 4, activities 3 was homework.
Okay.
I thought it was just activities 2.
Okay.
Do I do it and then turn it in, or do you just want me to do it?
Yeah. It's all good. We'll, I know it's taking a little bit of getting used to right now. So it's okay. Just go ahead and turn it in, and I won't count it as late.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just make sure you're writing down homework each time, and then that way, like I said, it'll take some getting used to doing it this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Bye, hon.